How's it going?
Hi, my name is Peter.
Peter, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So, just a quick question. Why does this matter? Why do you care so much?
Well, this is child abuse.
Do you know any trans children? Do you talk to minors?
First of all, I would say there's no such thing as a trans child, but I talk to whoever comes up to me. I've been doing this over 5 years.
All right,
I've had tens of thousands of these conversations. I know many people who were trans identified and now say they are not. I've spoken with hundreds of trans identified people who come up to me. And we should not be sterilizing children. We should not be cutting the body parts off of children. We should not be teaching children that just because they're a little different, that just because they perhaps don't conform to what I'm sure you would agree are regressive and sexist stereotypes, we shouldn't be telling them that just because they don't conform that they are some alternate class of being, that they were born in the wrong body and they need to change their body to be comfortable.
All right. Well, I mean, me personally, knowing, these people that, are these trans children that you speak of, like, no one's cutting off their genitalia for it, you know what I mean? Like, this conception that, like, oh, these children, they're doing X, Y, and Z to their body. It's not happening. These cases are more so for people that are like adults, consenting adults. You know what I mean? Like, I can understand that children can't consent, but they're not doing that shit, right?
So in California, they're cutting off the breasts of girls as young as 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And they've cut off the genitals and done penile inversion surgeries on boys as young as 16, having started the process at 15, which probably refers to hair removal. And when I say that, I'm quoting a woman named Kellen Lackhart, who works at the Kaiser Permanente in Oakland, California. She admits to that all on video. So they're absolutely doing this to kids. That's just the physical harm, never mind the psychological harm. What does it mean? You tell me, what does it mean for a child to be transgender?
It's just who they want to be. I mean, going back to what my original question, why the fuck?
Wait. Let's slow it down. First of all, I appreciate your passion.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that you want what's best for kids, okay? I think we can both probably stand here and say we both want what's best for kids.
Yeah.
So, I asked you, what is a transgender child? You said it's just helping them to be who they are. Well, what does that mean? Let's break that down.
Well, it's whoever they want to be. I think, why does it matter so much that a child, let's say, someone that's like 16, 17, right? It's like, hey, I don't feel comfortable being in the body that I was born in. I feel more like I'm this. Why does it matter to you? I don't see it as
they're
harm.
Not born in the wrong body. It's a lie.
Yeah.
And it's causing, first of all, it's causing psychological harm, it's causing physical harm, but we haven't even talked about who these kids are yet, who show up at these gender clinics. So if you read the systematic reviews of all the scientific literature, so in medicine, what we refer to as the gold standard when it comes to studies are what we call systematic reviews, where they look at all the peer-reviewed research, they look at all the scientific literature, and this has been done now in Sweden, it's been done in England, it's been done in the US, and under so-called progressive governments, and actually done by the pediatric bodies in Sweden and in the UK, they found there's no evidence to support transitioning kids. The quality of evidence was either non-existent or extremely low, and of course there are grave harms being done to kids. So if we're going to be harming children for this ideology that teaches they were born in the wrong body, we should at least be able to define these terms. And right now I can't even get a definition of what it means to be transgender.
It means that you're making the transition from one to another. I mean, it's in the term itself, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so transition is something you do.
Exactly.
It's body modification, but that's not something you are. This is all based on an identity, and I forgot what I was just about to say a minute ago. The kids who show up at these gender clinics overwhelmingly have other mental health problems known as comorbidities. They have, in a majority of these cases, they're on the autism spectrum.
All right.
Many of them, a majority, per all the data that we can look at, have suffered sexual abuse. In more than 50% of the cases in the UK, one of their parents wasn't in the picture. So they're struggling with all these other issues, and then transgenderism comes along and it says, well, little girl, little boy, the reason you're so upset isn't all these other things, it's because you were born in the wrong body. What a negative thing to tell a child that they were born wrong.
Who the hell is saying that? Who is going
all
up
of the trans activists are saying it.
That's not what they're doing. They're
It's
not saying like,
literally what
hey,
they say.
you have mental illness, you should like, be different than. They're saying that if it's just like way you feel. Going back to what you're saying, you mentioned
being a boy or a girl isn't a feeling.
But listen. You said that your identity doesn't base who you are. But I think that identity is very crucial to a person. It's how they're able to, keep on going and shit. Like people that.
Okay, so I asked you what
let me
being
finish.
transgender is, and you said it's someone who
Let me-
transitioned.
hold on.
But that's a verb. That's still not a definition. So let's keep getting back to the root cause here. What is transgender?
All right. Listen. Because I know you're trying to do this whole like Charlie Kirk thing, but listen, right?
I'm actually a separate human being. Charlie Kirk's a great guy. What I'm trying to do is have a conversation. And what I'm trying to do is get terms defined. Because if we're going to tell children that they are transgender, we should at least be able to define what that means. And so far, in 5 years, nobody can do it.
It's the act of being
That's a
born.
verb. That's not the noun. What is a transgender child?
Someone that's transgender? What are you trying to get here?
Right, so we can't define it without circular definitions.
So then why does it matter then?
Because children are coming to lifelong physical harm.
Which
they're being
children?
sterilized.
No,
they're never
there's
able
no
to have a
sterilization
family.
that's happening. This is the
Pardon me?
fear-mongering.
What do you think these puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones do? You should go read the consent forms that they sign at these children's hospitals. You should go look at what some of these trans health professionals say. They fully admit to it on video that they're sterilizing kids. You can go look at the videos in the WPATH files. So WPATH is the World Professional Association for Transgender Health.
Mm-hmm.
Many of their own videos and emails were released last year as part of a leak. They all admit to this. This is on their consent forms. Come on in.
Quick question. You earlier
Let's
you
face
started
the
off-
camera a little bit. Come
earlier
on
you
this way
said
a
that
little.
You said that children aren't consenting to these things. Would you agree if children are consenting and children are, say, 12, 13, 14 years old, that they are receiving puberty blockers and they are modifying their bodies by doctor's consent, because you were saying nobody's doing that. Would you agree that if sub 18-year-olds are doing that something's morally wrong in that situation?
All right, I didn't know this was going to be a 2v1. But listen.
I'm off on the side. I didn't show up with him. I'm off on the side.
Honestly, this is just about truth.
Like,
It doesn't matter how many people.
I think that we can agree. Children don't necessarily consent, right? But I think I think that they can like start to form an identity, and the people that I know that have like these backgrounds, they're not getting these surgeries done. They live in California. Like this is not, like they're not getting these stuff done. If they do get it done, it's probably when they're adult, when they're consenting.
My man, I was here a year ago, last October, 13 months ago. I spoke to Clementine. She goes to this university. You should go Google Billboard Chris and Clementine right after this. She told me the story right up the pathway here. Actually, just down there. When she was 12, on her first appointment at the Children's Hospital, she was given puberty blockers. At 13, she was given testosterone. At 14, she was given a double mastectomy.
When you say given, what do you mean?
She was put on testosterone.
Like
At 13, she had a double mastectomy. Her breasts were cut off at 14 years old. She goes to this school.
Mm-hmm.
The testosterone caused psychosis. She went off it at 17.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor then wanted her to get a hysterectomy, where they cut out your womb. She'd had enough. She officially detransitioned at 19, but she's never going to be able to have kids. This all started when she was 12. And why? Because when she was 7, she'd suffered sexual abuse. And that made her, unsurprisingly, not look forward to growing into a woman. Because for her, being female is the source of all the great pain and trauma in her life. And what did the school counselor at 12 tell her? Well, because you don't want to be female, you must be a boy. And so they started socially transitioning her with a new name and pronouns. The school counselor told her parents they had a trans boy. The parents, not knowing what to do, did what most parents do. They go to see the experts, quote unquote, at the Children's Hospital, who in 1 half-hour appointment put her on puberty blockers and then the next year put her on testosterone. And now she's sterilized for life. Do you think we should be sterilizing struggling kids?
I don't think we should be like sterilizing them, but what you're saying, like you're making it seem like this thing, like, oh, big pharma's out here sterilizing the children. That's not necessarily the case. More people regret getting tattoos than getting the transsexual surgeries, and not even that. Like even if you're making these cases of certain people like regretting their choices, that doesn't mean that this is all. There's real people out there that really just don't feel comfortable in their bodies, and like when they go 18, like I think that
it's normal for a teenager, especially a teenage girl. It's normal for them not to feel comfortable in their bodies. That's called puberty. That's called growing up. But we don't give kids drugs, hormones, and surgeries because they're uncomfortable with their body. Why? Because they're kids.
Right, but these few cases don't make up every
It's not a
single
few
child
cases.
that has felt like trying to transition.
It's tens of thousands. And if you look at the academic reports before they started drugging kids, before they started giving them surgeries, kids who had gender dysphoria back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, More than 80% of them grew out of it when they went through puberty. The cure for their gender dysphoria, for their distress, was puberty itself. Now we block the cure.
What the fuck? All right, listen. But I think that it's just because of these. Hold on. I feel like the way that this is all being interpreted is that because of these procedures that are being quote unquote pushed onto the children, which I really don't think that there's like these people, these counselors, and be like, hey, you're not happy if you're like become trans. Like it's
Because
just,
that would be wrong, right?
No, it's just not what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
Would it be wrong if that's what they're doing?
Hold on, no. I'm talking to this.
Would it
guy.
be
Can
wrong
you
if that's what they were
back
doing?
up? Hold on 1 second. Let me talk to this guy first. But what's it called?
Would it be wrong if that's what they were doing?
I mean, like I think it's just everybody's choice. I mean, like the.
See, you're trying to ride the fence here.
I'm
you're
not
saying
trying
it's
to ride
not
the-
happening because you know that would be wrong.
But you're saying
But
hypothetically.
then when
if
I
this
ask
is
you,
happening.
would it be wrong?
If it's
You don't
hypothetically,
even want to admit it.
I think that it's wrong.
It's what happened to Clementine
I don't think
wrong.
it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong to. I think it's shit. Hold on. I think it's wrong to force somebody to do anything, to like, join a certain religion, to do this thing. Like I think it's wrong to force something onto somebody. I think you should always be the person that comes up with the choice at the end of the day. But I feel like these aren't like they're not being forced. They're not being pressured into these.
Yes, they are.
They're not being pressured.
So when Clementine went to her first appointment at CHLA, the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, she was separated from her parents, and in that first interview with the parents, they were told they could have a dead daughter or a live son. Are you telling me they don't feel pressure right there?
All right, so there's probably So look, there's this one shady person that did that, right?
It's not one shady person.
But
They all
But do you think
follow this same script. They all follow the WPATH standards of care. WPATH is an activist organization, not a medical body, but we have an activist organization pushing ideology into medicine and using pressure tactics. And you have these ideological doctors who go along with this, and they don't question things. In fact, to even question these children, they say is to invalidate their gender identity. The only standard they practice these days is what's called affirmation only, where they simply affirm this little 10-year-old girl as being a boy. They say, wonderful, we're so glad you found your true self. They don't ask about all these other things going on. Watch the interview I had with Clementine. I asked her, did the doctors and the therapists that you saw ever ask you about the sexual abuse you'd suffered when you were 7? And the answer is no. They didn't care. They simply fast-tracked her onto this medical treadmill of puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries. And now, she's just a young woman still in university and she can never have kids. Why was she distressed? She wasn't trans. She'd been sexually abused, as more than half of these kids have been.
Do you think that's happening to all trans people? Because I feel like these are like case-by-case situations.
All people struggling with trans identification have something else going on. They don't end up at a gender clinic unless they've got some problems going on in their life.
I really don't think that's the case. I don't think
I would encourage you to do a little
I don't
research.
think every single transsexual person that has changed their gender is like just doing that because they're suffering something else, and that's like a coping mechanism. To devaluate that to just a coping mechanism, like, oh, I'm going through X, Y, and Z, that's why I'm doing this. I feel like it really like devaluates like that person and who they are. And I think that
what they are is a girl or a boy. They're not the opposite
No.
sex.
I'm not finished. I think that we should like just let people kind of like live their lives. And I know that there's these like these people, these
So we should let kids sterilize themselves?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that
So what does that mean? Let them live their lives?
I'm saying
let them
that
go on puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones?
this motherfucker, bro.
No,
Listen,
is that what you want?
I'm not necessarily saying that. So
what are you saying
This is
then?
not the end all be it because there's multiple ways. Like you don't have to do any of that shit, and you could still be a trans girl or a trans boy, and you don't have to do any of that shit. You don't have to go through the puberty blockers and whatnot.
But they're told they have to do that, or else they'll be distressed forever because then they won't pass as well as the opposite sex.
Well, just because
They're told if they don't go on puberty blockers, these boys are going to develop into men, and then they're not going to be able to pass as a woman when they're adults. So therefore, their reasoning, if I were to steel man their argument, is they must go on puberty blockers at Tanner stage 2, the beginning of puberty. Otherwise, they're going to start to masculinize, and that would be too traumatic. That's the reasoning behind this. So what you're saying to these trans activists would actually be transphobia.
What the fuck? What are you? Whoa! What the fuck? Hold on.
I would encourage you to watch this video back. You'll pick up more the next time you watch it.
All right, you know what? But listen, my thing is that I think that all people should just do what they feel is right for them, right? Now, I'm not necessarily saying...
Do children know what's right for them?
I think that, like if you're, like, like, on the younger age, maybe you're still, developing, but I feel like this idea that, every, all these people, like what's it called? Like, not everybody that's going through the experience of being transsexual is like going through this path, and I think that to kind of like reduce everything to just, like they're just constantly being fed like these, every single trans person is being, it really like just diminishes like every, like just kind of like, what's it called? Like when you like take like these group of people that have been, affected by these like people that are like forcing them, right? And you're like using that to explain everybody, and everybody's background is like that. I feel like that's a very like, that's a wrong way to look at it.
I'm simply telling you what the systematic reviews showed.
And I'm saying
The
that
gold standard in medicine.
Yeah, but I'm saying
You should read the reports. The CAS review from England is 380 pages long. You should have a look through that, or you just skim the summary even.
But I'm saying
Go read the WPATH files. You can just read the summary of that too, and you'll find that yes, in fact, these children who are having so many struggles in life that they end up at gender clinics, yes, they always have something else going on.
But like,
And does that diminish them as a human being? No. We should be treating them for the other problems that they have. We shouldn't be ignoring their other problems, which is what is happening, and telling them this lie that they were born in the wrong body, and the only way they're going to feel better is by going on puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries.
Right. But what do you think about like transsexual adults that maybe were like had that in their youth, but then fully like came out once they're an adult? What do you think about that?
So there are two different conversations here, and within the trans umbrella there are different types of trans. These middle-aged men who say they are transgender really have what's called a paraphilia. It's a paraphilia, or a sexual perversion, called autogynephilia, which breaks down to the three root words auto, gyno, and philia, meaning self-love as a woman. And for them, this is just a perversion. It's totally different than what's going on with these kids. And so a man who gets off on going into women's spaces, is he trans? No, he's really not. That's just a label that they have adopted because it gives them a free pass into women's spaces. Now, if some middle-aged dude wants to do something with his body, go ahead, but I don't think doctors should ever be doing it, because doctors swore an oath to first do no harm. And you're not helping people by cutting off body parts.
All right. I think that this idea that like that trans women are doing it just to go into men's restrooms is such a weird way of looking at it. Like this idea that like thinking that all like I feel like the idea of considering like being transgender as like a mental illness is such a weird way to look at it.
Nobody's transgender. It's a meaningless term. You can't even define it. So if we can't define it, how does that term have any meaning?
It's because being transgender is an action. Being a transgender person is because they're doing the action.
Yeah, body modification is an action. It doesn't change whether they're a man or a woman.
Yeah, but it's the transitioning that makes them the man or the woman. It's just what they want to do. I don't understand.
It doesn't change their sex or their gender, a word I don't like. I say there are two sexes, zero genders, and infinite personalities, because that just sums us all up. And if someone's quirky or a bit different, we should just say, hey, that's fine. You're not actually the opposite sex, and you don't need a pharmaceutical company to help you be who you really are. Whether you believe in God or evolution, this whole ideology makes no sense. If you believe in God,
no, I don't believe in God in the
Christian
Christian
that God
sense.
made us wrong. And if you believe in evolution, well then somehow a billion years of natural selection has failed, and we now need a pharmaceutical company to help our kids be their true selves. Totally and utterly insane.
Well, the true self just comes from who you are. It doesn't necessarily you don't.
And who they are is boys or girls. And if a girl is a tomboy,
Exactly.
if she likes climbing trees and playing in the dirt, and she likes boy activities, that doesn't make her a boy.
Right.
But that's what these trans health professionals are saying.
Those two things are not like connected though.
So I could show you videos from Boston Children's Hospital's gender clinic, the #1 ranked pediatric hospital in the country, where the doctor who runs their gender multi-specialty clinic, the first clinic that opened in North America, back in 2007, I believe it was, they say things like playing with opposite gender toys. A girl trying to pee standing up, a boy trying to pee sitting down, trying on a sibling's clothing. These are all signs your child is transgender and can be treated.
What the fuck?
That's literally what they say, verbatim. And your reaction is perfect. WTF, indeed. If you want to play with Barbies as a little boy, you're not transgender.
I agree with that aspect, but it's because it's because hold on.
Do toys determine your gender?
No, because
They're
that's
just toys.
Yeah, no, I understand that part, but
Yep, that's what the trans health professionals say is an indicator that your child is trans.
right. I see what you're saying, but I feel like we shouldn't just take. I feel like you're really looking at the pharmaceutical aspect, but I feel like that's such one aspect of what being I'm a cisgender person, right? So I think that I can't necessarily speak accurately as for a transgender
You're just
person.
a man.
Yeah, I identify as a man. I'm a man.
You don't
feel me?
identify as a man.
I-
You're just a man.
Whatever, right?
This whole ideology is a lot, and I know that's a lot to take in. This entire ideology, everything you've ever been told about it, is based on nothing but lies. We don't have gender identities. You're not cisgender or transgender. You're just a man or a woman, a boy or a girl. And I know that's a lot to accept when you've heard all these lies and you hear it from all these authority figures here at this beautiful university. But that's the fact of the matter. Gender identity is something that was made up in the 60s.
Well, I mean, it's just it's just a part of I would say being a man. Would you say that people have identities? I know you said there's infinite identities or whatever you said.
Infinite personalities.
Infinite personalities. Would you say that personality is connected to someone's identity?
I guess it depends what you're defining identity as.
Just like who they are.
It's not related to your sex. I could identify as a Vancouver Canucks fan, which is unfortunate because they've never won a Stanley Cup. But, some people identify as hockey players. They identify as soccer players. They identify as university students. What you are is just you. You're not the opposite sex. You're not the opposite gender. Do you have likes and dislikes? Yes. Do you have hobbies? Yes. These are all parts of your personality. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the gender-bred person, which is the most used resource in the world, it defines what gender identity is right on there. Mm-hmm. And it says your gender identity is based on your personality, your job, hobbies, likes, dislikes, roles, and expectations. Mm-hmm. So if someone is an engineer, do they identify as an engineer? Do they consider that to be part of their identity?
I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
But that should have nothing to do with your gender, yet that's what they're teaching, is that all your hobbies and likes and dislikes and your jobs tell us what your gender identity is. They're using regressive sexist stereotypes to define what your gender identity is. Oh. So the same people who don't like stereotypes say if a child doesn't conform to them, we should cut off their body parts.
I think that gender should be a part of the it's not saying that your personality informs. I think it's the other way. I think that is a part of who you are on a whole. I think I think all pieces of what we are, I think I create what it is that we do. You know what I mean? I think that
but gender identity is a lie. You don't get to choose your gender.
What's it called? It's not the idea of choosing a gender. It's just feeling comfortable that's
exactly what it is.
But okay, but
you can be an effeminate male. You're an effeminate male. You're not a girl.
I mean, but if they're not identifying as the other gender, then yeah, that's true. But I think that if you want to be,
But this identify as, what does that mean? It means pretend to be.
No, you don't identify. You identify as
I don't identify
like a speaker, right? You're just what the fuck. Anyways,
I'm not identifying as anything. I'm just a man here having a conversation. I don't walk around going, what do I identify as? With respect to gender ideology, when we say people identify as, all that wording means is these are people pretending to be. And we don't play pretend in the adult world, and we certainly don't play pretend to such a degree that we start sterilizing children and cutting body parts off.
I think that there's this I feel like this idea of thinking that is this? I think playing pretend is very much such a bad way to look at it, because it's I think
truth.
No, it's not. It's because there's just
the truth hurts people's feelings. Oh well, it's still the truth, and it's not kind to lie to people. And affirming a delusion, which is what we're doing with transgenderism, is lying to them. It is not nice to take a little boy who's more effeminate, who likes bacon with mom, who's perhaps more sensitive, who reads books, who doesn't like playing outside with the boys. It's not kind to tell him he's a girl, that he's transgender. None of these ideas ever enter a child's head on their own. It's always coming from some external source. And it's not kind to tell him that. We should be telling him that he's beautiful just as he is. No drugs or scalpels needed. Instead, they're telling him he's transgender, celebrating it, love bombing him with this false idea, and then putting this idea in his head that to fully manifest his transgenderism, he needs to get all these drugs. It's insane.
So what would you say if someone that lives in a very, let's say, conservative Christian house and that are very very much against the idea of being transgender, right? And the kid goes out throughout, just lives his life, goes throughout his life, and becomes transgender, and that's on his own term, his own will. He doesn't do any, he doesn't go any through the hormones or whatnot. He doesn't have this. Would you say that that's, could that happen? Is that real? Is that still a thing? I don't know if
So
I'm
we know the vast
to you.
majority of kids historically, when not drugged, they grow out of this. It's a phase. The act of puberty, of their own hormones naturally coming, the act of growing up, their brain developing, they grow to be comfortable in their bodies. A lot of these kids, this used to affect mostly boys. And so severe so-called gender dysphoria started at a young age, these really effeminate little boys. And more than 80% of them grew out of it, and a majority grew up to be gay. So something we haven't even touched on in this conversation is this is harming the gay community.
How is it harming the gay community?
Because a lot of these kids would grow up to be gay, and instead they're being told they're trans, and their bodies are
But
being
how
harmed.
does what is the connection with being transgender and being homosexual? Where
So
where
I
is the
just
connection?
told
I know
you-
it's part, the LGBT.
let's slow
I
it
know it's a
down.
part of the community.
So all the studies into gender dysphoria. So gender dysphoria is the traditional diagnosis that if a child has gender dysphoria, this is when they are then led to believe that they are trans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But most of these kids grow out of it, and a majority grew up to be gay.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk to a lot of gay men today, they will tell you that if they were growing up in today's world, they would have been led to believe that they were trans.
Which gay people are you talking to?
I've
Like
a
the idea,
thousand.
the idea of thinking that
You should come down to WeHo with me one day, West
I'm
Hollywood,
not going.
and we'll have some conversations there, and you can hear it from their own mouths.
Yo, bro, let's go to WeHo. Let's go to WeHo. Okay, but what's it called? I think this idea that it's like having it one way or the other. I don't think that is necessarily true. I think that you could be, you could be a transgender woman and be straight. You know what I mean? And you could be a gay man.
Yeah,
and
those
be a
men
gay
are
man.
what we call men with autogynephilia.
What? No. Like the idea that I don't got. Anyways, this idea that they're just so interconnected. If you're not if you're not gay, then you're this, or if you are becoming gay, you're really this. They're two different identities that are connected because they're all within the queer aspects. You know what I mean? And I think that just saying that it's only one it's a misunderstanding of that.
All right. Anything else? I think these two want to talk. That looks to be a man identifying as a woman.
What the fuck? You can't. That's just. I don't
Well,
even know.
we're about to
you're
find
just
out, aren't
you're
we?
just I don't even know. Just looking at someone being like, yo, they look that's kind of that's terrible.
I'm right.
I don't know. This nigga was just saying how you look like a man identifying as a woman. That's kind of crazy. Exactly. These people can't tell. They want to say and be like, oh, they're doing this, but they can't even tell themselves. That is a cisgender woman, and you're like, oh, okay, but you weren't able to identify either. You know what I'm saying?
So,
That's not identity. That is a
so nobody's intersex. Would you like to come in and have a conversation?
Yeah, you could take
Would you like to
it-
come
you
and have
could
a
take it from here.
conversation?
Get Charlie Dick's dick out of your mouth.
If you agree with me, that's great. Yeah. I'm not here to. I'm here for whatever happens. I'm not here with a. Yeah, I'm just here to talk on camera. Come just this way a little bit, please. Thank you very much for having a conversation with me.
Okay. Would you say you're against puberty blockers in general, or just for trans kids?
Well, first of all, I reject the notion that there are trans kids.
Okay, sorry, gender
But-
dysphoric kids, or kids who think they have gender dysphoria.
Yeah, I'm fully against puberty blockers.
Okay.
I know they're used in some cases with kids with precocious puberty.
What about intersex children? So if you have elevated androgens and you're a woman, and you want to delay that puberty, or add feminizing hormones, so you can have normal levels, female levels, so you don't have in between levels. Would you be okay with that?
So First of all, for everyone watching at home,
Oh,
intersex is an umbrella term
Yeah, so
for
it
a
can-
variety of disorders of sexual development. I tend to think it's a bit of a misnomer because nobody's in between sexes or a third sex.
Yeah, I
All of
agree.
these disorders affect males or females.
Right. But like, so do you know what's
And so, there's something like 30 different disorders of sexual development, I believe. Some are more common than others, and in each case, there's going to be different treatments for them. But those are medical conditions. In some of these cases, they don't generate.
Yeah.
Some of the men don't generate any testosterone, so they might need
Uh-huh.
testosterone therapy, right?
Yeah.
You
So
said that you're
intersex,
intersex.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
mind sharing what your condition is?
I have PCAS, so partial androgen insensitivity syndrome.
Okay.
So, like some people, for example, complete androgen insensitivity syndrome. Do you know what that is?
I don't get into the
Okay, yeah. It's
all
fine.
the
It's, like,
details about
super
these.
rare.
I read
Yeah, yeah.
like the basics about
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
but no, I couldn't sit
Okay.
here and act like an expert on it.
You're still-
Why don't you tell us?
You're still biologically male, but you have an immunity to testosterone.
Right.
So you generally like look externally female, but you still have like testicles, but internally because they never
Right.
descended. You develop externally female-looking genitalia, but it doesn't operate because you don't have a womb or a uterus. So like that's like a case where I would say like that person still should be treated as a woman, even if they're genetically male, because they don't even know they're intersex probably till they're like 10 and they don't get a period.
Yeah, these are really unfortunate
yeah.
situations. Like Amin Khalif, the man who won the women's gold medal. So he's male.
Okay.
He has one of these conditions, and yeah, at birth, perhaps his testicles were internalized, and
Okay.
his genitalia might have appeared more female.
Oh no.
But at puberty, he
Yeah.
started producing testosterone, and he's fully male. So these are really unfortunate situations, but we should still be acknowledging reality that
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
either
I
male or
agree.
female.
And I guess like one last thing I would say is like it's true like because I've been to clinics for like to get like progesterone, which is like a chemical my body doesn't produce enough of. I remember I was at a gender clinic and they offered me like a stuffed animal, and I'm like, why do you guys have these? And they're like, we mostly prescribe puberty blockers to kids, so this is why we have it. And it was after like one visit I got it. So I would say
They
like
gave
it
you?
has been progesterone,
Progesterone.
which is usually used for like breast development,
Right.
and then
But your body has a problem
yeah.
processing testosterone.
Correct.
So was this just a personal choice you made not to
Yeah.
take testosterone?
Yeah,
because you-
basically.
I guess when you were born, people assumed you were female? Is that what happened?
I don't like to get too much
Okay.
into it.
All
But
right.
yeah, I would agree with
I
you. in
totally
your
respect
statements.
that.
Yeah,
Please don't share anything you're not
Yeah.
comfortable.
I would say just I agree with you, and like it does happen, and I see it, and like you don't even need a prescription to get these drugs. You can get them like online, and it's like people
I
do
think these you would, but
puberty. Oh yeah, but for like estrogen and like
yeah, they're getting
yeah.
testosterone and estrogen for sure.
Yeah. So I think it's like wrong and messed up, and I agree with
Totally.
you. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
Yeah, of course.
stopping to chat. I really appreciate
Yeah.
that.
What's your name?
Chris.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
I'm Billboard Chris on social media.
Thank you. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you very much.